Hello, dreamer. I'll be your storyteller tonight. Like and subscribe for more bedtime stories and share in the comments where you're listening from. I used to love late-night Walmart runs, When the store is practically empty, the aisle's quiet, and it feels like you have the whole place to yourself. Safe, harmless, convenient. At least that's what I thought. What happened to me that night? Changed everything. It was a Tuesday. Around 11:45 p.m., I was driving home from work, exhausted, and realized I was out of coffee and cereal. Simple trip, nothing special. I pulled into the Walmart parking lot. The place was nearly empty. Just a couple cars scattered across the massive lot, like broken toys in a dark playground. The neon blue Walmart sign glowed against the night sky, a little flicker in one of the letters like it hadn't been fixed in years. Inside, it was even quieter. No kids running around. No long checkout lines, just the buzz of fluorescent lights and the distant sound of a floor cleaning machine. I grabbed a cart and started walking. Coffee aisle first, then cereal, then maybe some frozen meals. In and out in 10 minutes. That was the plan, but almost immediately, something felt off. The first aisle I turned down was empty, but there was a sound, a squeak. Like the wheel of a cart, I looked behind me. No one. I shrugged it off. The store was big, sounds echoed, right? I kept going. Then I saw him. At the far end of the aisle, a man stood perfectly still, tall, thin, hoodie pulled over his head. He wasn't shopping. He wasn't moving, just standing there. I froze. Maybe he was waiting for someone? Maybe just a worker? But something about him made my stomach twist. I pushed my cart slowly toward the next aisle. When I turned, I glanced back. The man was gone. I tried to laugh it off. Don't be paranoid, I whispered to myself. But the feeling of being watched grew stronger. Every aisle I turned into, I felt him. Sometimes I caught a glimpse. A shadow moving at the end of the shelves. A figure disappearing just as I looked up. And then, the whistle, low, slow. 2 notes. It echoed down the aisle, playful, taunting. I stopped breathing. My hands tightened on the cart. Excuse me. I nearly jumped out of my skin. An older woman shuffled past me carrying laundry detergent. She smiled. But her smile didn't comfort me. I nodded quickly, pretending to browse the shelves until she left. Then, silence again. That's when I realized I hadn't seen a single worker. No one stocking shelves, no security, just me. And whoever was following me, I decided to end it. Forget the groceries. Just get out. I pushed my cart toward the front of the store. But when I reached the main entrance, the sliding doors didn't open. They stayed shut. I waved my hand in front of the sensor. Nothing. I yanked at the glass. Locked. And that's when I saw it. The reflection in the glass. Behind me. The man, closer than ever. I spun around. Empty. No one there. But on the glass, smeared across the sliding doors, was a bloody handprint. My heart nearly stopped. I abandoned the cart and ran. I knew there was another exit near the garden section. I sprinted through the aisles, my footsteps echoing too loud, and then the lights flickered. For a moment, everything went dark. And in that split second of darkness, I saw him standing right in front of me. When the lights came back, he was gone. I was shaking, sweat dripping down my face. Every breath felt like knives in my chest. I reached the garden exit, slammed my shoulder into the bar, and pushed out into the night air. The parking lot was silent. My car was far across the lot under a flickering streetlight. I ran. I didn't care how insane I looked. Halfway there, I heard it again. The whistle, closer now. Behind me, I didn't look back. I unlocked my car, dove inside, slammed the door shut. My hands fumbled with the keys, finally starting the engine. Headlights flicked on, illuminating the glass entrance of Walmart. And there he was, pressed against the glass. Face pale, eyes black, endless pits, mouth stretched into an impossible smile. He raised his hand and smeared another bloody streak across the glass. I sped out of the parking lot like my life depended on it. And maybe it did. I didn't stop until I was home. I locked every door, every window. I didn't sleep. The next morning, I told myself it was a nightmare, stress, exhaustion. Maybe I imagined him until I checked my car. On the back window, in dried rusty streaks, was a bloody handprint that was 2 months ago. I never went back to that Walmart. But sometimes late at night, when I'm lying in bed, I hear it. That whistle, low, slow, 2 notes, and I know he followed me home. It was early March. I worked late shifts back then, and Walmart was my last stop before heading home. That night, the air outside was freezing, and the parking lot was emptier than usual. Just a few cars scattered across the massive asphalt desert, the kind of stillness that makes you look over your shoulder a little too often. Inside, the store was quiet. Too quiet. Normally, even at midnight, you'd hear faint music from the ceiling speakers or the hum of workers stocking shelves. But that night, it was just silence. I told myself it didn't matter. I just needed a few things. Milk, bread, a frozen dinner or two. In and out. 15 minutes. Halfway through my shopping, my stomach clenched. Hard. I needed the restroom. Badly. The nearest restroom, I thought, was at the front of the store near the customer service desk. But when I got there, the hallway was blocked off with a yellow out-of-order sign. Frustrated, I scanned the area. That's when I noticed another sign. A plain white placard above a narrow hallway I swear I'd never seen before. Restrooms. It pointed down the long, dimly lit corridor toward the back of the store. I hesitated. Something about that hallway felt wrong. It looked too dark, too isolated, but the pressure in my stomach left me little choice. So I went. The hallway stretched farther than it should have. Every step made the air feel colder. By the time I reached the heavy restroom door, I could actually see my breath. Pushing the door open, I stepped inside. The smell hit me first. Not the usual disinfectant and cleaning supplies, no, this was metallic, like rust or blood. The fluorescent lights flickered weakly overhead, buzzing in and out. 3 stalls stood in a row, all closed, and not a sound, no dripping faucet, no footsteps, just the deafening silence. I went to the far stall, shut the door, and sat down, trying to get it over with. That's when I heard it. Footsteps. Slow, heavy. One by one, crossing the tile floor. Someone had entered. I froze. My heart pounded. I waited for the creak of another stall door opening. Nothing. Instead, click. The lock of the first stall turned. Click. The second stall. Click. The third stall. And then, all at once, the doors swung open. Empty. Every stall stood wide open. I whispered to myself, "What the hell?" My voice trembled. I quickly finished, yanked up my pants, and stumbled out. That's when I noticed the mirror. The mirror above the sink was cracked, jagged lines spiderwebbing across the glass. I looked into it, and my reflection was wrong. It was smiling, I wasn't. My reflection tilted its head, grinning wide, and slowly raised its hand. Its palm pressed flat against the glass, leaving a trail of red, a bloody handprint. I stumbled backward, nearly slipping on the wet tile. I spun around. Nothing. But when I turned back, the mirror was different again. Every crack in the glass showed dozens of reflections of me. Dozens of faces. But one shard showed something else, not me. It showed the restroom door, and a tall, faceless figure, standing there, watching. My chest tightened. The air felt heavy, suffocating. I bolted. The lights flickered violently as I lunged for the door. For a second, everything went dark, and in that moment of total blackness, I felt it, breathing, right against my ear. The stench of blood and rot filled my lungs. When the lights came back, the door was gone. I blinked, stared at the tiled wall where the door had been. No way out. I pounded my fists against the wall, screaming. No sound echoed back. Then from behind me I heard stalls slamming shut, 1, 2, 3, and the whistling, low, slow, 2 notes. I turned back toward the mirror, trembling. The reflection was closer now, its smile wider, its mouth tearing open, stretching far too wide, blood spilling from the corners, and then, snap. The lights went out again. This time they didn't come back on. I didn't see. I didn't want to, but I felt it. A hand, cold and wet, gripping my shoulder. I screamed, and suddenly, I was outside, standing in the middle of aisle 9, my cart still waiting, milk and bread inside. I was gasping for breath, drenched in sweat like I'd run a marathon. Shoppers passed by me, staring like I'd lost my mind. I turned toward the back of the store. The hallway was gone. Just rows of shelves. No sign, no door. I ran. I didn't even buy anything. When I got home, I told myself it was stress, exhaustion. I worked too hard. My brain had played tricks on me, until the next morning I stepped into my own bathroom, and on the mirror, in smeared, rusty red streaks, was a handprint, and beneath it, 2 words, still here. Even now, months later, I don't use public restrooms. I can't, not after that night, because every time I catch my reflection, just for a split second, I see it smile, and I know I never left that restroom. They call it the graveyard shift for a reason. I used to laugh at the phrase, thinking it was just a figure of speech. But after what I lived through, I don't laugh anymore. It was back in 2019. I had just taken a new job at Walmart. The pay wasn't great, but I needed the money. Rent was due, bills were piling up, and overnight shifts paid a little extra. The store was in a small town in Oklahoma, out by the highway, surrounded by nothing but empty fields and silence. At night, the building stood like a giant tombstone glowing under flickering parking lot lights. There were only 4 of us working that shift. Me, new hire, stalker, Gary, the night manager, always grumpy, chain-smoked during breaks. Sam, older guy, had been with Walmart for years, kept to himself. Maria, young cashier, always had earbuds in, didn't like talking much. It seemed easy enough. Stock shelves, clean up, keep an eye out for shoplifters. The store was open 24 hours, but at night, barely anyone came in. The thing about that Walmart, it felt wrong. The aisles stretched longer than they should have. Some nights, when I turned down an empty row, I could swear I saw movement at the far end. But by the time I blinked, it was gone. I told myself it was just my imagination. Until the night everything changed. It started with Sam. He was a quiet man, but after weeks of working together, he finally spoke up one night during break. "You ever seen him?" he asked. I frowned. "Seen who?" Sam leaned forward, lowering his voice. "The employee who never left." Maria rolled her eyes. Oh God, not this story again, but Sam kept going. "They say years ago, back in the early 2000s, an employee died in the store. Collapsed right in aisle 14, heart attack. By the time paramedics arrived, he was gone. But here's the thing. People say he's still here, still stocking shelves, still walking the aisles." Gary scoffed. "Don't fill the kid's head with that crap. Ghost stories don't stock cereal." But Sam's eyes never left mine. "They say you'll know he's near when you hear the beeping." "Beeping?" I asked. He nodded. "The sound of a scanner, even when no registers are open." The break room went quiet. That night, while stocking in aisle 9, I swear I heard it beep, 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 soft, distant, echoing through the store, but when I walked toward the front, every register was dark. A week later, I drew the short straw. I had to face the back storage area alone. If the store felt unsettling, the storage was worse. The air was heavier, colder, and the buzzing fluorescent lights hummed louder, like they were straining. As I wheeled a pallet of dog food down the hall, I froze. At the far end of the corridor, I saw someone. A man in a Walmart vest, tall, thin, face pale under the buzzing lights. He was turned away, stacking boxes. "Sam?" I called, no answer. I walked closer. My footsteps echoed. The man didn't move, didn't acknowledge me. When I got within 10 feet, he stopped stacking boxes. His head turned, not like a person's, but too slow, too deliberate. And his face, there was nothing there. Just pale skin stretched smooth where eyes, nose, and mouth should have been. I stumbled back, heart pounding. The figure tilted its head, almost curious. Then it lifted its hand and scanned an invisible item in the air. Beep. I dropped everything and ran. I wanted to quit. God knows I wanted to. But rent doesn't quit and bills don't care about ghosts. Then came the worst night of my life. It was around 3 a.m. Maria had gone home sick. Sam was stocking frozen foods. Gary was outside smoking. I was alone in aisle 14, the cursed aisle. I was stacking cereal boxes when the lights flickered. The hum of electricity dipped, then silence. The entire store went dark. My breath quickened. My phone flashlight barely lit the shelves around me. Then I heard it. Footsteps, slow, heavy, dragging along the linoleum. I turned. shaking, shining the light down the aisle. Nothing, then beep right behind me. I spun around. The faceless employee stood inches away, pale vest glowing faintly in the dark. His empty face stared at me, though he had no eyes. I bolted toward the exit, but the sliding doors didn't open. I banged, shoved, screamed. Nothing. Through the glass, I saw Gary outside. He looked at me, waved, but then he turned, and I realized it wasn't Gary. The thing outside had no face. I don't remember how I got out. The last thing I recall was collapsing in aisle 14, heart racing, the beeping surrounding me, echoing from every direction. When I woke up, it was morning. Customers were walking the aisles. Maria was at the register. Gary was arguing with someone like nothing had happened. I told them what I'd seen. Gary just shook his head. "Kid, you lasted longer than most. Consider this your notice. You're done." Sam pulled me aside before I left. His face was pale. His hands trembled. "You saw him, didn't you?" I nodded. Sam whispered, "He chooses one. Every few years. Someone new. Someone weak." I frowned. "Chooses? For what?" Sam's eyes filled with tears. "To take his place." I never went back to that Walmart. I quit, packed up, and moved states away. But some nights, when I drive past a store glowing under neon blue lights, I hear it. Beep, 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 soft, slow, inescapable, and I know one day he'll come for me again because the employee who never left is still waiting. People say Walmart is the safest place late at night. Bright lights, security cameras, workers stocking shelves, but those people don't know the truth. The summer of 2021 proved that to me. I worked closing shifts at a Walmart in Kansas City, Missouri. After COVID, we shut doors at midnight, and it was my job to help clear customers out, lock up, and clean. The first time I saw her, she didn't seem unusual. Just another shopper wandering the aisles. A woman in a long, pale blue dress. Black hair draped over her shoulders. An empty cart rolling in front of her. That was the detail that stuck with me. She never put anything inside. Not one item, she just drifted. Frozen foods, electronics, toys, always alone. And every time I glanced up, she was staring right at me. The crew started joking about her. "Ghost lady's back." Derek laughed one night as she glided past. But something about her chilled me. She never blinked, never smiled in her cart, made no sound. Every Walmart cart squeaks, but hers silent, smooth as glass. When she passed, the air grew cold. I asked Derek once, "You know who she is? Has anyone ever rung her up?" He shrugged. "She never comes to check out, just gone when we close," and he was right. Midnight came, doors locked, and she vanished. No one ever saw her leave. It was a Tuesday when everything went wrong. Midnight came, doors were locked, store empty, or so we thought. I was in aisle 7 when I heard it. The wheels, soft, smooth, rolling closer. I turned. She stood at the end of the aisle. Empty cart, eyes locked on me. "Ma'am, we're closed," I said. Her head tilted slowly, unnaturally. She pushed the cart forward, wheels sliding soundlessly. "Ma'am," I said. The lights flickered, buzzed. When they came back, she was gone. The cart stood in front of me. Empty. I ran to security. "Check aisle 7. I told Derek. He rewound the tape. There I was, cleaning, turning, talking to thin air. No woman. No cart. Derek smirked. "You're losing it." But I knew what I saw. The next night I came ready. Phone charged, flashlight in hand. At 11:45 she appeared, blue dress trailing, hair shadowing her face. Empty cart gliding. This time I followed. She drifted past toys, housewares, groceries. Every aisle she glanced back, like she wanted me to keep up. The air grew colder. My breath fogged. She turned into aisle 14. I followed and froze. The aisle stretched unnaturally long, shelves looming taller than they should, and halfway down, she waited. The cart was gone. Her arms were outstretched, and for the first time, I saw her face. It wasn't a face at all. Skin stretched tight like wax, empty pits for eyes, a mouth that gaped too wide, and she smiled. I stumbled backward. The aisle behind me twisted, stretching into darkness. At the far end stood a metal door that had never been there before. I ran, slammed through it. The storage room was freezing. Industrial shelves towered around me. The single bulb above swung weakly, buzzing. The door slammed shut. No handle, then the sound of wheels. The cart slid from the shadows. Silent. Empty. Finally, the wheels shrieked, a piercing metallic screech. I clapped my hands over my ears. Trembling, the cart toppled and she stepped out, blue dress dragging across the floor, black pits where eyes should be. She whispered my name. I stumbled into something cold. Mirror, but it didn't belong there. Reflection looked back, pale, terrified. Then, it smiled. I wasn't smiling. The reflection's lips peeled back too far, blood streaking its gums. It raised its hand, pressing bloody fingers to the glass. One word smeared across the reflection. Stay. The lights died. Pitch black. I felt her breath. Hot. Wet right against my ear. I swung wildly, flashlight sparking back on for a second. She was inches away, mouth unhinged like a snake. And then, I was back in aisle 7. Cart in front of me. Empty. The intercom crackled to life. Attention shoppers. A distorted voice hissed. Walmart is now closed. I don't remember leaving. Don't remember the drive, but I woke at home. Clothes drenched in sweat, phone dead. The next day, Derek brushed it off. You're overworked. But I knew, because that night, when I looked out my window, she was there, in the parking lot, blue dress flowing, cart in front of her watching. I quit Walmart a week later, but she didn't quit me. Target, gas stations, grocery stores. Sometimes I glimpse her, a flash of blue fabric at the end of an aisle, and always, the cart is closer. Then months later, Derek called me, his voice shaking. Bro, she's here. Click. Line dead. I drove to Walmart. The building was dark, empty. Inside, aisles stretched unnaturally long, and in the middle, Derek's cart, abandoned. Beside it, the woman in the blue dress, waiting for me. If you're hearing this, don't shop late at night. Don't wander empty aisles, because if you see her, if you see the woman in the blue dress, it's already too late. She doesn't want groceries, she wants you, and sooner or later, you'll end up in her cart.